Welcome back to AJ's Little Shed Shop, come from inside AJ's Little House Shop. Today, I'm going to show you how to replace a bottom bracket. If you wonder what bottom bracket is, this is your bottom bracket, okay? It's a standard square taper bottom bracket. It's called square taper because this part of the axle is square. Pedals either side, well, that's it. But to measure one, first of all, we have to go to the frame when we replace one which we already have. That's a nice, sexy, brand new one. Gonna go on my boy's bike right here. First of all, we've got to get it turned over. And yes, it's filthy. So let's glove up. Wow! All gloved up, nice and protected. Not gonna get filthy. Not gonna get as filthy. Shouldn't get as filthy. That one. You're gonna need a few tools for this. Now, a basic bike mechanic toolkit that you can buy these days should have everything that you should need, because this is a simple, I will rephrase that, this should be a simple operation to change a bottom bracket. But just a couple of tools and some tools which are everyday garden variety tools, shall we say. What you're going to need is over here, a 1/2 inch ratchet. You may need, you may not. This is a bottom bracket extractor. Very strange, lots of teeth. And this is going to go on there. So that's going to go on there. Now, you don't always need to have a ratchet. Some cases, you may have something else that's going to be used instead. So see, this is the same, and it has an Allen key that goes in there. But you're also going to need a big Allen key, 8mm or 10mm. Most importantly, a crank extractor. Now this thing does one job and one job alone. Extracts cranks. To measure, you need a rule, or if you have one, a caliper, or also known as, stab yourself in the hand, a vernier. Oh, I can't believe that. Yowza. Careful when you open it. Sharp bit on the end. I think that should be it. Obviously you're going to need some grease, which I've got to nip back out to the shed and grab. Yummy, yummy grease. On this new bottom bracket, this blue that you see is thread lock, so that should lock it in place quite nicely. Let's crack on. First up, this one requires an 8mm Allen key for the removal of the pedal bolts. Lefty loosey. There. One out. If you have one, this is an amazing tool. This is my Park Tools 8mm 3/8 socket. Makes it much quicker. Now for the other side, much quicker. Now we have to pull these off, and that's where the crank extractor comes in.
If you don't drop it.
Shit, I just broke it.
Is that a bit of mad?
Oh yeah, it matters. Okay, so don't drop your bloody crank extractor. What a stupid thing. Did you follow that to the floor?
No.
No.
That's all I didn't.
That was lucky. Stupid man. She knows how stupid I can be. That's it. Break the tools. So, to use a crank extractor, right, you do not want this piece extruding in the middle, so you do this out quite far. Yeah, like that. You screw this with the threaded part onto pedal arm. Now, to get this to go on without cross threading, because you don't want it to go in at an angle, you need to go on perfectly. So, every time you do something like this with a thread, turn it back until you hear a click. That click now, wind it forwards, and you'll never cross thread again. To give this a little pinch, you don't need to do it tight because you've still got to get it out. Get our big 8mm, and now screwing it in. As this screws in, it should get loose enough, and it pulls this whole arm off like that. Boom. And do the other side. When it comes to the actual crank side, you do exactly the same. Wind back until you hear a click, and then wind in. Pinch that tight. As this goes in, that comes off. There. Now, when we take off your cranks, the chain and the rear derailleur is going to pull it towards the back wheel. So just be careful, make sure you have a firm grip of the arm of your crank. It comes off, nice and loose, keep hold of it. It pulls it back. Release the chain. Crank extractor, that's done with now. You don't use this to put it back on, you just use it to take it off. Next, to know what size bottom bracket you need. Now I already know what size bottom bracket this takes, but if you don't, and you don't have calipers, get yourself a rule and measure the frame. So we go from this part of the frame to this part of the frame, okay? Just the piece that the bottom bracket sits in. And we're going to measure that as 73mm. There is 3 different sizes normally for a bottom bracket of this type. You have a 68mm, a 70mm, or a 73mm. So therefore it kind of makes it easy to see, even if you can't get exactly right up close to it, what size it is to work out from a rule. So I showed you with that, with one of these, you get exact accuracy. You just open it out, clamp it on, you read off your numbers on here, and that tells me that is a 73mm. Perfect. There's one other measurement you need. You can do it while it's in the frame. It's a lot harder with a rule and a heck of a lot easier with a caliper. It's the length of your axle, essentially, the piece that we took the cranks off of. Second number needed. First number, 73. We've got that. So it's either 68, 70 or 73 mil. Second part, the distance, the length of this part, the axle. This is your second number needed. 73. This one, I already know this, is 122.5 mil. So unless you have a rule, which I do, which can tell you 0.5s, but at a distance is rather difficult. But you can place something on the end and then look down and work it out, or you can take it out and go to a local bike shop and they'll be able to tell you what size you need. You already know it's a 73. This one is anyway, or your 68 or your 70. So now we have to remove this bottom bracket. I'm going to remove it with a bottom bracket removal tool. Strange tool, but it fits into these teeth on the side. Like that. So we're undoing. You hold it in and undo. One bottom bracket cut, one side removed. Now for the other side, it's exactly the same. That goes in and same again, but this side undoes the opposite way, the opposite direction. So this is a reverse thread. So both of these undid towards the back wheel when it's upside down. Gotcha. And there we have it. An English thread bottom bracket undoes the same way, don't matter which way you look at it. It's not lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. It's lefty-loosey on one side, which would be the pedal arm side, to loosen the bottom bracket and remove it. From the pedal arm side, pedal arm on its own, upside down is lefty-loosey to loosen the bottom bracket and remove that cut. To pull the bottom bracket out from the other side, it's righty-loosey because it's a reverse thread. If you're fortunate enough and your bottom bracket that was in your bike originally was a decent bottom bracket, it will tell you the size that it actually is on the bottom bracket. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it actually says 73 by 122.5. Next up, we have to clean inside the frame the threads where that bottom bracket goes in. We've got a nice clean new one to go in, so we need to clean up this bottom bracket to make sure there's no crud or dirt or anything else on the inside of this frame. So here goes nothing.
Be careful because you may have some metal in there.
Look at that. Well, that's metal mixed in with grease and dirt. We'll do that side and then we'll come in and we'll do this side. Also, go with the direction that the thread goes when you're cleaning this out. So you can kind of get everything that's inside that thread, and wear gloves because there can be shards of metal in there, which will be threads. Now, with that cleaned up, we're ready to install the new one, which is kind of the reverse of what we did. Fresh grease. You don't need lots, but you need enough. Controversial, I know. Some people would just say no, just thread lock it. I grease it, just in case. You never know. Greasy. So new bottom bracket comes like that. Two pieces. It only goes one way. You have this thicker piece of metal on this side, which is fixed to the bottom bracket, and the cup. The cup is always pedal arm only side. The piece with the thick bit is for the cranks. So we know which way this goes in. Most frames have a drain hole. Kind of got to make sure that's clear, because otherwise you'll get water in there. That will get into this, and it doesn't matter if this is sealed or not, it'll end up being cream crackered. So something like a little flathead screwdriver removes the crap that's in there. Ready to pop this in. So in it goes, and then remember, we definitely do not want to cross thread this ever. So wind it back till you hit click, and now time to do it up. Remember, this side is reverse threaded. Bottom bracket removal tool is bottom bracket doey uppy tool. In and do up. Nice, fresh. The new cut goes in this side. Same again, we do not want to cross thread this. So we are going to wind it back until we hear a click. There, now wind it in. You don't want it, if it's really tight and you can't turn it by hand, then you need to undo it and go again. This has just got to this blue part, which is part of this. That's filling the threads, okay? So I'm going to need to crank on this a bit. Here we go. Now this cut should get quite close to the frame, if not go just inside. Now we tighten up the crank side. So reverse thread. And now pinch this one tight. I don't have a 1/2 inch torque wrench, otherwise I would set it to between 35 and 45 Newton meters of torque. But I've been doing this long enough to know that roughly where I've pinched that to, that hurts my hands and that feels about right. But I've been doing that for years. Next up, we need to put the pedals back on. Little bit of grease, because you never want these to get stuck on there. Little tiny bit inside that thread.
I've got to learn my lesson.
So just pop it round and then bring it onto, whoa, that square drive. That
was smooth.
Wow, that went on super smooth. Now your other pedal arm. Make sure when you put this on, you put it on dead opposite, at the opposite angle, like that. Bosh. Now, putting back in the retaining screw for the pedal arms and the crank arms, and I'm going to go with my trusty tool again. What this does is it pulls that pedal onto that bottom bracket and locks it in place. Controversial again. Me, I like to put a little bit of grease, either on the thread or on the inside of that bottom bracket, as you saw. It stops these from getting stuck just in case water gets in there. Some people put on thread lock. I'm not a thread lock guy, not when it comes to something that eventually will need replacing. So if these come loose, you just retighten them. I would rather be able to take them off and retighten them than not be able to take them off. Rewind that thread. You hear a click or feel a click, and then do it up, preferably without these greasy fingers. Now you want these done up about the same sort of torque as the bottom bracket, around 35 to 45 Newton meters of torque. Personally, I'd go on the slightly lower end of that. Let's get the last one done and then the bike's ready to go. Now, that's in there, and that's about right. And that's it. My nice new bottom bracket on there. It should be nice and smooth, and we've ended up with clean hands. Slightly beaten, but clean hands. Da-da-da. Mrs. Shedshop will be proud. I know she will. It's nice and easy, a simple mechanical thing that you can do yourself to keep your bike working at its best and for longer. And it's a lot cheaper than going to a shop. That bottom bracket I bought was a Shimano a BB-UN300. Amazing bottom bracket. When I bought that, for some reason I bought it on Amazon and it had gone down to an unbelievably cheap price. I managed to get that for $13.99. If you have to buy the tools, a crank extractor is going to cost you £2-3. I'll put a link to a crank extractor. A bottom bracket extracting tool will be just a couple of pounds as well. I'll put a link to one of them. Even if you add up all the tools yourself and the time of you learning how to do this, will probably be cheaper than you taking it to a bike shop. And it's a simple thing to do. Thanks for watching Easy Little Shed Shop. I hope this has been an informative video for you. I've enjoyed making it and making my boy's bike, who's holding the camera for me. Lovely job, thank you very much. I hope he's learned a thing, that's for sure. And it keeps him going nice and safe. No crunching, no clicking. Thank you for watching. Check out some of my other videos and we'll see you again next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification button. Thank you.
All good?
Yeah.